Hello, everyone. Good morning or good evening.
Hi,
Hi, good morning, sir.
Hi,
good
very good
morning.
morning.
Good morning, sir.
Right. So let's get started with the next topic. So today we'll continue with our Linux module. And the last topic in the list is about the fundamentals of shell scripting. Okay. And yesterday itself, we have started with the discussion, right? Like what are the differences between these scripting languages and the programming languages? And also we have seen how to prepare a shell script. It is just a collection of shell commands, the Linux commands, whatever you are going to execute. It can be consolidated and defined within the file. And the file should be saved as .sh as an extension. Correct? Correct. So now we'll see how to prepare this shell script and what are all the prerequisites to work on shell scripts. Like scripting means it is a kind of a program only, right? So programs. Okay. Or scripts. So both are some piece of code, okay? Some set of instructions, okay, that are written in high level language, right? To perform some task. That's it. So any program or a script is nothing but a set of instructions that are written in high level language to perform some task. So if it is a shell script, the shell script should be saved as .sh, and it is just going to hold some set of instructions. If it is a JavaScript, the JavaScript can be saved with the extension .js, and it can have some set of Java-based instructions. If it is a .NET C# program, or Python, or Ruby, or COBOL, or C, C++. So all these things are set of programs which are written to perform some set of instructions, set of tasks actually, right? So to perform some task, and the instructions are written using high level language. High level language means the language which are understandable by us, right? It's a kind of English like language we can able to maintain. Correct. Now, now when I say scripts, okay, so we are going to talk about a lot of concepts and programming constructs. Like what are all the steps, or what are all the constructs we are going to use to work on programming or any scripting language, right? So a lot of things are there, okay. But before that, do you guys have any question on yesterday's session? Like what are things we discussed so far related to your previous topics? Like we talked about user management, remote server management, right? And establishing connection to remote server and able to copy the files. Did you get chance to practice all those things, or you guys have any question on that? Mhm. Any question?
No, sir.
we are just directly utilizing the private key, right? Like for example, uh, listen please. So let's say this is my instance up and running. If I want to connect to this instance, I can simply copy the public IP address of this machine, open this mobile term, go to session settings, Saran, listen here, select this instance and enter the public IP address of the machine and enter the user ID. And enter the private IP address. Sorry, private key. Now, all these three parameters should be valid, right? If any of these parameters are incorrect, see what happened. Server refused. No supported authentication method available, right? So it means I have intentionally entered some incorrect username. Ubuntu. Similarly, if there is a mismatch in the key field, if I try to give any other key pair, it is not associated to that, not supported. There is no authentication, right? So same thing is applicable even when you try to access your remote server. From one remote server to another remote server, if you try to establish a connection, what you're doing here, this is VM1 and this is VM2. So what we did here, in this VM1, we have created the public key and private key, correct? For this DevOps admin user. Are you clear with this?
Yes, sir.
Now, once the public key and private key is created here, we are just going to copy the public key of this DevOps admin user into the Ansible, admin users, directory as a authorized key.
Yes, sir.
So the point here is when you try to do that activity, you have to follow these instructions strictly. So I just clearly mentioned the process, like after creating the user profile under the client machine, you have to prepare the .sh folder and create the file called authorized underscore keys file.
Yes,
And
sir.
then
I've
copy
created till
the,
VI authorized keys. When I am pasting the when I am establishing the connection between the two systems, I'm getting error permission denied public key showing the error.
listen, that's what I'm saying now. Listen, please. So you have created this file authorized key underscore key files, right? And then you have pasted the public key of DevOps admin user from the master node into the authorized key files that you just created in client machine, right? So this authorized keys file is created under the admin user one, correct?
Yes,
Are you
sir.
sure about it? Or you have created this file under the root user or some other Ubuntu user?
No. I have created using DevOps admin only under the DevOps admin user.
My question is, this file should be created under the admin
Admin
user
user one.
one.
Yeah. Admin user one. Yeah. I have created.
Done, right? Once
Yeah.
it is created, you have to run this command.
Yes.
Have you
Change
executed?
mode I have given.
Now, after executing this command, just give ll long listing. You should able to see that entire folder is accessible only by admin user one. That is required. If not, that file will not be considered as an authorized key file and you'll be getting an authentication error when you try to connect. That was the issue. So please verify these lines of code. And also while copying the keys from your DevOps user, copy the exact number of bytes don't copy any extra characters. That also might lead to that issue. So your problem is between these three lines. Got it?
Yeah.
And it should be saved create as .ssh mkdir folder. The
Yeah.
folder should be
Create a
.ssh.
folder created and the files have been
Then
copied.
please check with these three process. That should be fine.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
See here, chmod 600. After that, you have mentioned the path, right?
Yes.
Home admin user one .ssh. Instead of that, what if I mention chmod 600 authorized keys? Authorized keys. Authorized keys.
So you are
Instead of
running,
path.
you are executing the command from this path.
No, not this path. Instead of that path, I am directly running it as authorized keys. So
No,
when I
my
change that,
question is the chmod command from which path you are running?
in .ssh.
From that path only exiting, right? So it means within that folder, only that particular file alone will be protected.
Yeah. So we can even do that, right?
You can do that, but
Yeah.
it is recommended to protect the entire folder, right? That's the reason we're just giving at the folder level, right?
Folder level.
What are all the components we
Oh.
have. Right?
Got it.
So this is how we were, managing it. So please ensure that you follow these steps and it should fix the issue. So we can use private key for EC2 instance connection with mobile XTEM like we did it in setting up the... No, it's not like that. See, when we try to use a public key, is it a private key or a IP address you're saying? Vaishali.
IP address.
Private IP address, right? Not private key, huh?
Yes.
So when you launch any node, right, we'll be having two IP addresses. One is a public IP and the other is private IP address. So this public IP is used to access your VM from external network. From one VPC to another VPC or from one network to another network. If you want to access your instance, you can use public IP address. For example, I am accessing this instance from my local machine, right? Altogether a different network. So I'll be using my public IP address or any external IP address that is assigned to my machine. But yesterday, we were establishing connection between two VMs using private IP address. Why? Because both the VMs are running in the same network, correct? So no, both the VMs are in the
Yes.
same network.
Same
So if that is the case, you can use your private IP.
Okay, I got it.
Clear?
Yes, clear.
Fine. So any other question before we move on to the next topic?
Sir, actually, again, I have done this thing, but again, it's showing the same error. The key has been copied and the connection has been established, but the connection, while we are connecting, it is showing that same error.
Can you just do one thing? Paste the command whatever we executed starting from this level in chat window. Just give ll command. Go to this directory and give ll command. And
In the SSH directory, right?
yes.
I just want to say one thing. Same error I was also having yesterday 4 times. I have tried that permission denied public key. After that, I have checked everything, each and every character and everything. And then I went to that EC2 instance and I terminated that instance and created new instance and the error was okay and connection established.
No, I'm not getting a point. Like terminated and recreate your instance.
Yeah, I created the new instance once more.
But that is
And
not
that
the
is not the solution. I
right?
know, but I was also having the same error 4 times, 5 times. Whole day I was trying to do the connection, but it no error, same error. Permission denied public key, same error. What Saran is having.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't think so. That is not, maybe it has fixed the issue. You must have, created altogether a different user, but I don't think that is a right way to do. Hmm? Yesterday I
I sent
was
you in
demonstrating,
chat.
right? Like I was demonstrating the process, right? Yesterday, what are things we did so far, right? So with a single attempt, I'm able to make it. So these are the same process we are using. Okay. So if you're getting unauthorized access, means it is actually issue with the authorized key that you created. And I'm seeing your file now. Okay, can you please tell me which version of Ubuntu you're using? Is it 22.04 or 20 latest version?
Latest version only. Whatever we have installed on that day, the same thing I have
Listen,
upgraded.
first listen, please. When you launch the node, I was expecting you to create Ubuntu 22.04 version, right? 22.04. Are you using this version or this one? 24.
Hold on, I will check.
If you're using latest means it is 24. So for latest version, the distribution, the parameters, everything is different. The encryption protocol is something different. Okay, so I was expecting to use 22.04 version. Check with that one and you can try that. I think someone who was responding, right? You must
Yes,
have done
yes.
the same thing,
Same,
right?
same
Uh,
issue.
so initially you must have created with the latest version and later you have created with the
Yes, initially it
previous.
was 22 and later it was 24. So that
No,
must.
no, no, no. Initially it must be 24 and
Yes, yes. So
recently you are just updated to 22,
yeah.
right?
Right,
So the
right.
24.04 version, the architecture, the family, Debian family, it is having a different protocol for it. So use 22.04 version, it should fix that issue then.
Okay, today I will work it out on them.
Got it? So just
Yeah.
follow the instructions. It's easy to manage. Fine. So now we'll see how to get into our scripting. Shall we proceed or any other questions, follow-up questions there?
Yes, I do have a question.
Mhm.
In first server, we are generating a key, right? And after generating a key, we are getting a two keys, like a public and private key. We are public key, we are moving into the authorized key. So, what's the command to move the authorized the public key to into the authorized key?
We are just directly copying, right, the file.
So is that what I'm asking is what the command is used?
You just log into the version VM2 under the Ansible admin user one profile, manually create a folder and use VI editor to create this
Uh,
authorized key file.
no, I'm not asking the server to while we are creating the server one, right?
Uh,
After generating a two keys, one is public key and one is private key.
okay, so there itself you created authorized key, right? That's what you're asking.
Yeah.
There you can use your cat command, right? Like we just
Cat.
copy the content of that public key to the authorized key in the same machine.
Oh,
This command,
but
it is
cat is
available
a
in notes
command.
here.
But
Sorry?
cat is a command like to view the
Yeah,
content, right?
yeah, it is to read the content, okay? But instead of reading the content and displaying on the console, I'm just displaying in this particular file and saving it,
Okay, fine.
right? Even I
Okay,
talked about the echo command also, right? Using echo command, you can print the message to the console, right?
okay,
If you want, you can write it to the file.
okay,
Instead of cat command, you can use cp command also to copy the content.
okay, okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Fine. Any other question? Hope I'm making things clear to everyone here. Still, if you guys have any question, let me know. We can sort it out and then we'll move on to the next topic. All right. So if you don't have any other questions, then we'll move on to the next thing. We are going to discuss about the concepts and the programming constructs, right? So what are all the concepts you need to learn as part of any programming or scripting language? So the knowledge, whatever you're going to gain today, it will be useful for your next module, because the next module will be your fundamentals of Python scripting or Python programming. Correct? So that is the next topic in the list, right? So even yesterday itself, I was talking about this thing, right? When we talk about the scripting language, we have various scripting languages starting from JavaScript, and we have Python script also. Similarly, we have a programming language. Python is also considered as a programming language. So it means using Python, you can prepare the business application as well as you can able to perform some process automation, right? As like Java. Using Java, we can develop some business application, and using JavaScript, we can create some scripting. So whatever it is, whether it is a scripting language or the programming language, there are certain entities that are common. Okay. And there are certain concepts that are common. So you have to understand that common factors. And if you're clear with those common factors, right, I'm telling you, in future, you can able to learn any type of scripting or programming. For example, today we are going to learn about shell scripting. And tomorrow you're going to learn about Python scripting, right? What if down the line, after 2 years or 3 years, the Python scripting or Python programming is not being used? There is some other language is dominating the market. What you will do? Obviously, we have to adapt to that one, right? We have to learn that new scripting language or programming language and implement our changes, correct? So the tools or the programming language, whatever we're going to use, it is not the important thing here, because it might change over the period of time, right? Initially, we were using C programming and all. Today, most of the applications not developed using C. I mean, business applications, right? Similarly, we are talking about Java. We talked about Java earlier, but now we have very far and advanced scripting and program language available when compared to Java. So you are not supposed to focus or stick to any programming or scripting language. Always you should have the basic understanding properly, and you should be able to quickly adapt to the new things. That is what the expectation. Even during interviews also, during interviews also, consider you have completed your Python scripting. You are strong in Python scripting, but the project is not demanding Python. They're demanding Ruby's. Means your interviewer will check your Python skills, and they will check how quickly you can able to adapt to the new technology. Obviously, they're going to train you. So whether you are capable to handle or accept the new changes or not, that is what the expectation. So always your learning should be on that perspective. Easy. So now let's talk about the scripting or programming in general. Then I will talk about shell-based, syntax and constructs. So basically, what is the purpose of any scripting or programming language? Any guess? For what purpose we write the program or scripts? Hmm? If I'm writing any program or any script, what is the main agenda there? What I'm going to handle there?
To automate the task.
Okay, task automation. So to automate the task, how I'm going to prepare the script? How I'm going to generalize it? So when we talk about any scripting, right, as you said, it is the automation of tasks. That's fine. I agree. And are you getting my question or not? Okay. So another important thing is the reusability. Okay. The reusability of the code, whatever we're going to prepare. Okay. Instead of maintaining it or creating it a number of times, just create once and use it any number of times. Correct. This is another thing. But apart from all these things, right, I'm trying to explain you some core factors, okay, that really adds value to the learning here. Because I don't want to just focus only on the scripting. Tomorrow, if you get an opportunity to work on any tool, how quickly you can able to adapt to that one. So now to adapt to the new things, what are all the common factors you need to consider in scripting? Yeah, that is what even I practice. Okay, like I never focus on any specific thing. While let's say today, if I'm learning about Python means, I'll be comparing that Python with other language. Like for example, if I am learning Python, in the meantime, I'll be comparing the concept of Python with Ruby. What is the equivalent concept used in Ruby? If I want to achieve that task using Ruby means, what is the command that we use in Ruby? Like that, I'll be doing some comparative study whenever we learn any new things. Similarly, let's say I'm working on Java. While working on Java, if I'm writing any syntax means, what is the equivalent syntax in .NET to achieve the task? So if you do such comparative study, right, you can able to adopt to new things very easily. That's what I'm trying to say here. So like that, what are all the common factors, concepts that are associated that matters? So in general, okay, if you take any programming or any script in IT, right, we are trying to write all these things for the sake of data, correct? Anything you can take, any example, any program you take, ultimately we are going to write the program or write the script for data handling. Yes or no? So data is the primary entity for any scripting or programming language. Am I right? Guys, do you agree? If you're talking about your ATM transaction, you're doing some transaction there. Ultimately, it is going to get stored in a database. Similarly, if you're doing some online purchase, how it is represented? It is represented form of data actually, right? Fund transfer activities, right? Retail or insurance or banking, any domain you would consider, any user action you consider, everything is based upon the data that we are going to handle. So this entire programming or scripting languages are used to handle the data. That is the ultimate thing. Agree? Are you able to understand or like any question there? Why so silent?
Yes, yes.
So before you actually write any scripting or programming language, first you need to clearly understand what is the data means. Any guess? What is the data actually?
Collection of information.
What is it?
Collection of raw information.
Oh, data means it's a collection of. Are you sure about it or you're just giving some guess response? Because the voice is not that confident.
Yeah, it's collection of information.
Okay. If You are saying collection of information means that my next question will be, what is an information? What is information then?
Statistics, facts.
Statistics, facts.
A processable values are called as information.
Okay, then what is data then?
Yeah, collection of information is correct. The information which we can process the data is called as information. For example, values and numbers.
So when I say data, I cannot consider data as a collection of information. This is not a valid statement. We cannot say data is a collection of information. Okay, on computing environment, computing perspective, data is just a raw fact. Okay, without any meaning. That's it. Data, it is just a raw facts without any meaning. When you process the data, it becomes an information. So information means it is the processed data. That means when we process the data, it becomes information. Please be clear with these two terms, okay? Being in IT, it is required to understand because our entire process revolves on these things only. Say for an example, if I say a value, anything, any data, if I say like India, what do you call this? What do you can understand from this?
Country. Country.
When I say India, it is just a raw content without any meaning. It doesn't have any meaning here. INDIA, I don't have any meaning there. But if I process this and if I say like is the country, then this becomes an information. Correct?
Yeah.
So India, when it is a term, it is just a raw fact without any meaning. You cannot say India directly, okay? Just because someone informed you about it, you are saying it is a country, right? But if you ask any small kid, it will not have any meaning about it, right? So that is what? It is just a raw text without any meaning. But when you process that data, then only it becomes information. So when I say India is a country, then it becomes information. So that's what. So always information is the processed data. Data is just a raw fact. So we are going to use this programming or scripting language to handle the data and convert it to a processed information. Clear? So to do this, what are all the things we're going to use? So if you take any programming or scripting language, okay, I'm not sure how many of you already, came across all those scripting language. At least during your academics, you must have learned about C program, right? So any scripting or programming language, first we'll start with the term called variables. Have you noticed? Right? Directly, we never write any programming logic. First, we will start with a variable. Any scripting or programming will start with the variable. Why we use variable here? Let's say I have a variable called X. So variable is just like an identifier. I'm going to store some data in my storage device, right? In my file system or in my database system, I want to store some data. So the data can be identified by this variable. So it is an identifier, right? So which can identify a value, something like this. So that is what. First, we start with the variable to handle the data. If I say X equal to 5, what I can consider? It is just a raw content there. So any data you declare, the data should have proper type. What type of data you're going to handle, whether it is a numeric data or an alphabet or alphanumeric. That is the reason in a C programming we simply use a term like integer, int x equal to 15. So when I say int, it is the type of the value which you're going to store or refer in this variable. Correct? And this will be having its own size also. Similarly, I can declare another variable, int z equal to 20, like this. Or I can able to have one more, like string name equal to some name I can use. So like this, we'll be declaring a variable and assigning some value to that variable. I'm not using the term integer or string to any specific language. I'm just giving you some example. I'm just declaring some integer variable and the string of characters. That's it. Now, what are the types of variables we have here? Let's say, for example, I have a variable called name. This variable name can have only one value, right? If I want to maintain the batch details, let's say your batch, I want to maintain all your names in a variable. Is it possible? No. So in that case, we'll be going with some group of variables. So I can use a term string name. If I have around 20 members, means I can declare a variable with the array item. So which can have some possible values. Right? Let's say, for example, it is we can have 5 members here. Okay. So assume that I just want to maintain 5 values in this variable. So this concept is something called as an array. Correct? So if you're talking about data, you can handle one or you can handle multiple data into a variable. So if you want to handle one value, means you can use a variable directly. If you want to handle multiple values into a variable, you need to have an array variable type. So array is nothing but group of elements or values with same name and data type. It means I have a variable called name of 5. It can hold 5 values. That's what we are declaring here. And each and every value of this array will be referred with the same name, and all these values will be of same type. That is what group of values with same name and same type. And another important thing is the values are referred or identified using array. Sorry, using index of an array. So for example, in my previous case, if I want to print this value, what I can do? I can simply say print name. It will print the value of that variable, correct? It is just output statement. As like echo command, we have a print command, assume that. Are you clear with this? If you want to print the value of this, I can simply use a variable name. but I want to print a value of this array means, in that case, I can use name of the index value. So always the index value starts with 0. Means, so the first value is 0, second is 1, this is 2, 3, and 4. So index value starts with 0. So when I say name of 3, what is the value associated to that index means this one. So I'll be getting the result. This. Similarly, if I want to print the second item, I should use print name of 1. And this index numbers will be assigned automatically to that. Right? So it is just a process of declaring the variable and assigning a value to a variable. If you want to handle more than one value, you can just declare it as an array variable. So this is the programming construct, which are common for any scripting or programming language. And how we are going to handle it at runtime. Because when we talk about the data, it is not just about managing it, right? We'll be maintaining some sort of validations also there, right? Say, for example, I have a value string name, username equal to something I just initialized. My requirement is I want to accept the value from the user at runtime. Like, for example, when you use your web pages during your login process, consider you have your user email ID, username, and password field, right? Like that, I am going to accept the value at runtime. So I can use a term like input username. So when I say input username, I am trying to accept this value from the user. Don't consider it as an example. I just want to accept it at runtime. That's what I'm giving here. So in this case, I am expecting the valid name, username from the end user through the console. So what are the possible values for this one?
String data type.
So I'm expecting some alphabets, right? That is a string of characters. So the possible values, it can be anything like this. Some string of characters I can able to expect from the user. What if the user enters the value like this? Is that a valid one?
Yes, sir.
Is that a valid? Can I have a number assigned to any username?
Yes, sir.
No.
I'm not talking about user ID here. Okay, user ID can have alphanumeric. That is different. But the name of the user, can you refer by numbers?
No.
No, right? But what if the end user is entering the input like this? Can you directly accept it? No, we have to validate the input. Correct? So in order to validate your input data only, we are using some conditional statements. Like if statement, if else statement, if else if, and else. Like this, there are a lot of conditional statements are there, and also we can use some switch case statements are there. And in order to work on these statements, you need some operators. Correct? You need some operators. For example, consider I have a variable called number 1. And I have another variable called number 2. I just assign the value as 5 and assign the value as 10. And if I want to compare these two values and come to a conclusion, I use some if condition. If number 1 is equal to number 2, print both are equal, right? Else, if number 1, if it is greater than number 2, what you can do? You can print the message accordingly, right? So the point here is, whenever we use any conditional statements, it will be associated with the operator. It can be an arithmetic operator or logical operators or bitwise operators. A lot of operators available. Depends upon the scripting or program language, we can able to use it. So here itself, we can see the equal to operator, greater than operator. Like that, we have less than operator, less than equal to, greater than equal to, not equal to. Like this, there are nearly 6 comparison operators available. Equal to. Okay. Like this, we have some set of operators available. Like this, we have a lot of things, okay? So just for your reference, I'm giving all these things. We haven't entered into our shell scripting. Okay, it is just the building blocks for any scripting language. So once you're clear with these things, right? Operators like this, we have something called logical operators, bitwise operators, arithmetic operators. A lot of things are there. Okay, we'll see how it can be utilized. And another important thing is, consider I have a variable called name. And in this variable, I'm just assigning a value. So if it is just a simple variable, I can assign a value like this. What if I want to assign multiple values to a variable? That should be declared as an array, and I need to assign it. Correct? So that is a basic difference between your array variable and the simple variable. So once the value is assigned, if I want to print the value of the variable, what I can do, I can simply say print name, and I'll be getting the result, right? Any question on this? Similarly, I want to print the value of this variable. I want to print all the values of this variable. How it is possible? Because here, each and every value is identified with its index number. At a time, I can print only one value, like name of 0 or name of 1, like this, right? But my requirement is I want to print all the values from the given list. How it is possible?
Using loop.
For that only we use the concept called iterations. So in any scripting or programming language, we have some sort of iterations that can be done with the help of your for loop, while loop, or do while loops. So what is the need for the iteration means? To perform any repeated task without creating the logic again and again. If you want to iterate any process n number of times, we can use your iteration construct here by using for loop. For loop is very frequently used. Correct. Say for example, how I can able to print this value of array variable means first I can able to capture the length. I'm just giving you some rough estimate, rough algorithm kind of thing. Okay, capture the length of an array. Okay. Now, what will be the output here? It will be like 5, right? 5 is the length of this array. Assume that. So I can able to use some looping construct here with some initial value for I. I is the initial index identifier equal to 0. That means my iteration should start from the index value 0 and it should keep on incrementing till it reaches the value of this length. So it just compares less than the length. If it is true, then what will happen? It will just print the value. The value. Okay. So how it is going to print means by keep on incrementing it. Okay. So whenever we talk about any particular data item, there will be some sort of incrementation or decrementation. So this is what the actual construct. So just declare the variable first, and the variable name is name of I. So now if you understand the process, it will first check for the index value. Index value always starts from 0, right? So if I equal to 0 and this I is obviously less than the length, because the maximum size of length is 5, it is less than the condition. So it condition satisfies. Once condition satisfies, it prints the value of that I. So the name of I. So now name of 0 what it is? Zero is the first value. It just prints that value. Correct. And once it prints this value, it will increment the value of I by 1. So now I value becomes, are you following? Initial value of I is 0. Based upon the initial value, it has compared the length, and if condition satisfies, it is printing that value. So initially, the very first item from the list has been displayed, printed now. And then it is going to increment the value of I by 1. I plus plus means I equal to I plus 1. Correct?
Yes.
Now, I just want to increment the value of I by 1. So I value becomes 1 now. So what is the relative value for 1 here? It is the second element. So like this, whenever there is an incrementation happens, it just keep on accepting or identifying that particular element and printing the content. See, this is not like a program. It is just like in pseudo code. I'm just giving you some logic behind this concept. your intention is to understand the logic, how the loop or for loop works here. Like this, will be keep on incrementing till the condition satisfies. So now the next iteration, it will become 3. 3 is less than 5, condition true. Again, print the value of the next element. Right? Like this, it just keeps on printing the value, and at one point of time, the I value becomes 5 when you keep on incrementing. Once it becomes 5, it compares the value. 5 is not less than 5, condition false, it just comes out of the loop. So this is how you can able to print the value of any array element using the looping construct. Got it? Any question? Any question here? Now, so what is the need for array? Any guess? If I want, I can able to declare the variables, right? And print it. But why I want to maintain an array means, let's say if I want to print 5 values, I can declare only one variable name and handle it. Like this, if I want to print 100 values, I cannot declare 100 variables like this. Right? So just to reduce the complexity of your programming and manage your data very effectively, we can use some arrays and collections. So the concept of array, the scope of array is within the life cycle of a program. For example, assume that I declared an array variable and I've assigned this value, 5 values to that variable. So the value, whatever you are defined, right, to this variable, it will be available till your program is active. Once your program execution is completed, the value, whatever you assigned, it will be permanently removed. Correct? So the scope of the variable is till you run your program. Then how I can able to maintain the data permanently? Means for that, we'll be using something called files. That's what. So any program language or script language will be dealing some files instead of just storing the data within a program. If you want to maintain your data even outside the scope of the program, you can use some file concepts. So using files means it can be a flat file like your notepad or a JSON file format. Or any text file you can able to use for that reference. Or initially we were using some XML files. Right. So the data, whatever you maintain within a program, if you want to permanently store it, you can use your file system. So through your programming or scripting, you can able to read the file, write the file, and update the file. Write or update the files using your scripts. Correct? And there is some drawbacks in handling the files also. The drawbacks are, when we talk about the file system, right, it is usually sequential in manner. It is going to handle the data in a sequential manner. Let's say you have around 1,000 records in a text file. Out of 1,000 records, if you want to pick up one record randomly, it's not possible because file always supports the sequential structure. You have to traverse each and every data and handle it. Like for example, here, I have 5 elements in my array. If I want to search for one particular user means, I cannot directly jump into that particular element, right? I need to perform a sequential search if it is a file concept. There is no concept called binary search in any of your flat file system. Then how I can able to handle it through my online process? Because if you consider any online applications, like you're trying to use your Amazon.com, right? You log into your application. When you enter your username and password, it is trying to fetch your data based upon the username, and that is going to perform the random read. So for all such high level, data interpretation, we'll be using the concept called databases. Correct? So instead of handling the data in a sequential manner, I can able to handle it in a random or dynamic. So database are used to manage the relational data. And here, it is not like your file system. Here, the data are organized. In the form of rows and columns using tables, right? So why it is called as relational data means you can consider any table here. Let's say you can take your user table itself, students table. And here in this table, I can have some columns like my student name or student ID, student name, right? And what else we can do? We can have their contact number, right? Their course details, right? And their email ID. Like this, I can have some names. Even in file system also, I can able to maintain the same set of records for any student. Like I can have a student number, name, like this. It's possible, no? Like this, I can able to have some unique identifier for my name reference. Right? So here, if you look into these records, right, the records are unique. Every student will be having their own unique student ID. Name can be duplicated. More than one student can have same name. That doesn't matter, but the ID should be unique. And the contact number, what about the contact number? It should be unique. I can't have more than one, same contact number for more than one user, right? How can I assign the contact number same? And email ID, how can I assign it the same? So every user will be having their own unique identity based upon their student number, contact number, or the email IDs. Correct? So this is how we organize the data in the form of your tables. Correct? Any question? So it's all, if you consider, all these things are based upon your data only. That's what I started initially. So what are the concepts you are going to cover using a scripting or programming? It's all going to revolve based upon your data. It can be a simple value, group of elements, or some data that's going to store in database. Easy? So these are some common entities in any programming area. If you are able to understand this common factors, then you can able to work on any scripting or programming language in future. Because every programming language will be having all these concepts. Every scripting language is capable to handle all these things. But depends upon the scripting language and the programming language, the syntax alone might be varying here and there. That's all. For example, here I use a simple term called print. Correct? In Python, we use something called print, but in shell script, we use echo. Both are used to print the message to the terminal, but depends upon the scripting language, the syntax varies. So understand the concept and use the relevant syntax. You can able to work on any scripting. You see? So this is just to make yourself comfortable, okay? Scripting is not a big deal. Just to make you understand the common factors. And with this, we'll be focusing on the shell scripting now. Any questions before we proceed? Does that make sense? At least you got some clarity, right? What is all about?
Yes, sir. Good to proceed.
Why? Because, in future, if you get an opportunity to work on any other scripting language, right, you should able to independently, adapt to that one. That mindset is very much important for any DevOps resource. DevOps, we always, learn new things. That continuous learning attitude is very much important. So these are some shortcuts to quickly adopt to new things. This is what I practice actually. So now let's come back to our topic. This thing. As I said, your shell script on DevOps perspective, we are going to have some set of instructions that is used to perform some sort of process automation. Let's say I want to set up my build server, means I can quickly have all my commands, that is to install the packages and save the file and run it, right? So I'll be giving you some examples. Okay, let's learn the shell scripting through some examples so that it'll be easy for you to quickly understand these things. So let me log into my console first. So yesterday we have created a DevOps user, right? If you want, I can get into that user level. SU. Okay, I'll prepare some folder here. Okay, let me create one folder for my scripts. So this is a directory where I want to save all my scripts. This is what I'm going to prepare. So if you want, we can start from the one which we just defined here. Okay, so this one, right? So if you want to install Git, or if you want to install JDK, if you want to install Maven or Docker, anything is possible with this, right? So let's try one thing here. Let's go to this and create a file. Sample script 1.sh. I am creating one file using VA editor. File name is sample script 1 and the extension is .sh. Go to insert mode. And as I said already, shell scripts are basically composed of some Linux commands. Any command you can able to mention here. Anything. What all the commands you want to execute, just have it there and just save the file. Escape : WQ to save the file. That's it. Now, if you say cat to that file name, you can see that is the content of the file. Okay, it is not the output of the file, just the content of the file. And now how to execute this means just use dot / followed by the file name. So if I'm getting to this, right, you can see this script file we have created, but the default access is assigned with read write, and there is no access for execution here, right? We don't have any privilege to execute. That is a basic property. Whenever you create any file in your Linux machine, by default, the owner and the group of users can have read and write access, but they will not have any execute access. So what is the command to give execute access here? Can I use chmod? Right? So what I did here, I just use chmod 755. The reason for 755 is, you can see, as a owner, I'll be having complete access to this file. And apart from me, anyone who wants to access the file, they can read the file and they can execute it. They cannot edit the file. So 755 is one of the recommended, access level for any script files. Or if you think you don't want to assign execute privilege to any third-party users or public users, you can change it accordingly. That's not an issue. You see, do not give 777. If you give 777, what will happen? It will allow anyone to edit the file. We never do that for any scripting. So now, as soon as I give access to this script file, see the color, the text, everything has been changed. So now I can use dot / followed by the file name. So this is a command to execute your script. So when I execute this command, it is getting into that script file and running the command here, echo hello, and printing the result. Right? Similarly, if I want, I can able to edit the same file. I can able to have a number of statements. And save the file. And again, I can able to execute it. So like this, we can able to make any number of incremental changes to the file and execute. Any question? This is just a basic programming construct. Okay. So Linux can able to interpret and process the script, whatever you are preparing here. Got it? Now, let's have a proper programming structure. So when I say proper programming structure, any script file should have a structure like this. Listen carefully. Let's say you want to print a simple hello world message, a simple message. Normally we use something called echo command, right? But if you look in the script file, it is not having any other programming construct, just directly an executable statement. But as per the coding standards, it is always recommended to start your script with the bin bash statement. This will be the proper programming practice we can able to have here. Got it? And hash denotes the comment line. If you want to comment any line, right, you can use that comment. It is usually used for meant for some sort of documentation and all. Like consider I want to prepare a script file with some self documentation. When I create any programming construct or any function, what is the purpose of the function? I can able to give some description. For that, we can use some comments. So always, as a best practice, start your script by using this bin bash. Otherwise, depends upon your distribution. Sometimes it might take shell commands or bash commands. So your Ubuntu and all, by default, it uses a bash command mode only. That's the reason earlier it was executing successfully. Save the file. and run it. See, it is printing only these 2 lines. But if I give the cat command, it is having 3 lines here. So this line we have just commented. The commented lines are not executable. You see? So like this, we can able to prepare a script. Now, look into this example. In this example, we are trying to print the calendar of a month. It is just a very basic command, like in any shell script, Unix machine, right? You simply say a command like cal, right? So if that package is installed, we can able to get that calendar. Okay. So I'm just installing a package called ncal, through which if I simply run a command cal, I can able to get the calendar of the month. It's a very basic command we can able to use. Same command we are trying to execute through a script. So this is a script file. I'm going to print this message and the calendar. So if I run the script, right? Let me save this file and run it again. See, I can able to get the month. So point here is using a script, you can able to print some message and also you can able to execute some utilities. So calendar is one of the utility, Linux utility. If you execute a cal command, you can able to get the calendar. So using that utility, we can able to capture this. So directly you can able to run it through your script. That is what the point here. And now just look into this example and tell me what we're trying to achieve here. Just read it. Okay, just read it and let me know what you are what we are trying to achieve here. What happened? Why so silent?
To sum the numbers,
Okay.
we are
So,
like,
okay. So to sum up the numbers, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to read that number at runtime. If I want, I can declare a variable and assign the value. But if I do that right, it will be like a static content. We are not supposed to hard code any value within a script because the script is always a reusable entity, right? So here, this is a very interactive program or interactive script. So what we're trying to achieve here is we are going to first give a message to the end user to enter the number 1. Once the user key in the value, and if you press enter, that value will be received into the variable called num1. So read is a command that is used to read the input from the user through shell script. And then it is going to print another message. And for that message, if you response, that value will be assigned to this num2. And then we are having a variable sum that is equal to value of num1 and value of num2. Arithmetic operation we are using here. Correct. So in this script, you are just learning about how to implement your runtime inputs. Let me create a new one. Right? Any question? And you can see all these things are commented lines just for your reference. Hash is used to comment any instruction. So this is it is always a best practice to give some instruction to the end user. Like whenever, let's say today I'm writing this program. Tomorrow on my absence, if anyone wants to manage the program, means by looking at the statement, they can be able to understand for what purpose we are using these commands. So always have a habit of maintaining some comments to make it more readable and understandable. And it is very easy for us to manage also in the future. Got it? So echo command is the output command, read command is the input command. So using echo command, we can able to print the output, and read command used to accept the input. Saving this file, and now if you see here, this file is not considered for execution. So chmod 755 followed by that file name. And here I can see the file is available for execution now. So let me execute this. See, when I execute this script, it is waiting for the user input. Enter number 1. So when I enter the value, it accepts the value and it is processing the next instruction. Again, I'm entering next value. It will receive that value and process the sum of those two numbers. So this is how we can able to prepare some interactive programs through your shell scripting. Any question? Okay, is you all able to follow or like any confusions? Why so silent here?
Yeah, I can able to follow.
We are able to understand.
Every one of you, I'm expecting response from every one of you. Okay, if you are unable to understand, please let me know. There is no point in telling at the end of the session. Please stop me if you're unable to understand anything.
In every can we run the 2-3 scripts in the same VI editor?
It is not about the script, right? A script file can have only one program, one script actually, right? You can have multiple instructions.
No, this addition one, that calendar one.
Yeah, you can do that. No, you just executable statement, right? You can have this also here. What's wrong? But maintain it at the end or at the beginning. Right? It should work, no?
Sir, what would happen if a user entered any characters?
That is what you're going to handle, right? Using if conditions.
No, at present here I am asking.
Sorry?
If here he is giving any number alphabets, what would happen?
See what happened here. It is
No,
not
if he is
properly.
giving one alphabet and for number 2 is giving a number.
Whatever the input, okay, we haven't done any sort of validation, right? We haven't done any sort of validation. So what all the values you're accepting, it will be just processing and displaying it, that's all. If you want, you can receive the value and compare the value, whether the value is a numeric or not. If it is numeric, then only you can go for that calculation. Otherwise, throw the message and end the program. So these are all some logical constructs. It is depends upon the individual, how they are managing their logics, right? So by default, your script will not do any sort of pre-validations. What are the value assigning? Based upon that metadata, it just handles the input and prints the result. That's it. But this is not a valid output also. Can you say it is a valid output? No. Here itself it should stop the execution. As soon as I give this value and enter, it should not accept my input number. That is how we should validate. Got it? It's all your programming logic you can implement. Clear? Like this, we have some sort of operators also. Like I was talking about the greater than operators or less than operators, right? So just look into this scenario.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the file of shell script, you are using that hashtag and something first line.
Mhm.
Can you please describe it? What is meant by?
See, it is a programming, standard. Okay, whenever you write any shell script, right, it is just denoting the beginning of your statement. that defines the following lines, whatever you're going to execute. It's all based upon your bash commands. We have something called bin/sh also. Like this also we have, but we are not going to use this sh in this generation of your Linux distribution. It was used during your previous versions of Linux or even your Unix machines, right? There we were using it. But all the upcoming scripts or commands we are going to execute, it is going to get executed in the bash terminal.
What
Got
do you
it?
mean by bin?
So
What do
it
you mean
is some sort of commands we can say, like in your system. Let me save this file. If I say bash version, see, this is a bash version installed in your machine. So it is a version which helps to execute your bash commands. So your Linux operating system was actually evolved, was created using your shell or Unix machines, right? It was using all the initial shell commands to interpret the things. But going forward, what are the commands you're going to execute? The shell scripts, what are you going to create? It is going to create based upon the bash executable. So it is just a default shell for your Linux system. Similarly, for your Windows, you have a PowerShell, right? PowerShell scripts, remember?
Yeah.
In command prompt we use, right? Like that here for Linux, we use a bash. And how these commands, like the commands means I'm using some commands like cal command, echo command, the numbers, whatever I'm expecting. So all these things are how it is getting compiled, because everything we are writing using your high level language, right? Then how it is getting converted, how it is getting interpreted. It is not going to use any compiler here. It uses an interpreter. So this bash is something used to perform the code compilation. It is used to perform the debugging. Let's say if I have any syntax error here. Instead of this, if I use any syntax error and save the file, and if I run the script, see, it is interpreting my script file, and it is clearly saying that in line number 8, this command, whatever we used, is not found. So how it is possible means that is because of the bash that is running, that is interpreting your source code. So the entire code compilation, error identification, and the testing, the debugging, everything is done through that bash actually. Are you clear now?
That's great.
So now let's come back to this scenario. In this scenario, we are going to declare two variables, num1 and num2. Instead of reading the value from the console, I just initialized it in my program itself. So this is another scenario where you can learn how to declare a variable in your script. And in order to declare a variable, you don't need to assign any data type and all. Give the variable name equal to the value. Don't give spaces in between. Without any spaces, just have the value. So num1 we are assigned with the value 5, num2 is assigned value 2, and we are going to use the if condition. If followed by that condition, like value of num1. This dollar symbol, right? The dollar, if you prefix with the variable name, it is like an address variable. If you want to print the value of a variable, you can use dollar symbol. So if the value of num1, if it is greater than num2, then print the number is greater. So -gt is an operator. Instead of -gt, you can use this greater than symbol also. It will work. Okay, so let me save this file and run the script. See, as per my input, num1 is greater than num2. So it is clearly printing that result. So what you should understand here is, if I want to declare any variable in my script, the variable name can be assigned like this with the value. Just look into another example. In this scenario, here also we are declaring two variables, that is num1 and num2 with some initial values. And here I'm just elaborating my if condition with else conditions also. If the value of number 1, if it is less than number 2, it should print this message. What if the value of number 1 is greater than number 2? It should print this message, right? And finally, fi. Fi denotes end if statement, end of that if statement. So the syntax for if statement is if followed by certain condition, then the positive case, else the negative case, and then terminate the if statement. Easy? Any question on the script? Any question here?
No.
In previous example, you didn't mention FI, right?
We did. This is a previous example, right? So any if statement should be terminated using fi.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't see
Okay,
that.
so here also we have it. So this is just a basic, things to understand the way how to declare a variable and how to use if conditions and various constructs. Similarly, there is another example. Like for example, if you want, you can consider this one. So just go through this and let me know what you can understand from this. Because it is always a best practice to learn from the existing use cases and examples, okay?
You are getting an input from the user as number and checking if it is greater than 0, you are printing as positive. Else if it is negative, if less than 0, it is printing as negative, or else it is printing as 0. Is that correct?
So by looking into this script, can you able to understand what it is actually? Though the terms, if,
Yeah.
elif and all, it's all the bash command script language, right? So can you able to understand what it could be? Else
Yeah, it
if
is checking
it
the
is
number is positive or negative or neutral.
yeah, that's it. And finally, it is a printing a message. So like this, we can able to maintain the if conditions. And another main point here is, I'm not hard coding the value here. I'm trying to read that value from the user. Based upon the runtime input, I want to validate the data and print the result. Easy?
Yeah.
Is that understandable to everyone here, or any question? Please let me know. Whatever the question, even if you find this equation is very simple also, never mind, please ask.
Here, if you give any alphabets, what would happen?
It consider that value as a 0, right? In my previous examples, I showed you, right? Any non-numeric data, it becomes a 0. Correct?
Yeah.
So you want me to execute this, or you are good to understand this?
Once you can execute, right?
How about others? Any question on this script?
No.
easy to understand, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Fine. So now let's execute the same. So you can key in your input value. It is a positive value. Like this depends upon your user input, the data can be handled. Easy. So always, we should do some sort of validation, okay? Like it is not just about accepting the input. When you are trying to create any interactive program, whether it is your desktop application or your online application or any user input you're expecting from the user, right? We cannot expect the positive case all the time. We cannot expect that user will enter the valid input all the time. We should consider all the possible negative scenarios. What if the user is not entering the value? What if the user is entering some special characters? What if he's entering some alphabets or alphanumeric, right? So that is what the testing means. Developers will prepare the script. They'll be doing some sort of unit level testing. Apart from that, there'll be some sort of functional testing, regression testing, a lot of things will be there. So a thorough testing should be done on this particular program. Then only it can be promoted to the production level implementation. Correct? So to test all those scenarios, you should prepare your test data. That is also another important thing. And you should prepare test cases and test scenarios. What are the possible scenarios I can have? You should cover everything. It's all some building blocks you can consider. Right? Now,
Instead of echo, we cannot use print, right? This is the syntax.
yes, it's a syntax for shell scripting. So now, if condition is one of the conditional statements, which is used to compare two values, a number with a value. What if this number is having more than one possible value? Here in this case, this number can have only one value, right? But there'll be some scenario where we can have a variable with more than one possible value. If more than one possible value satisfies the condition, I want to perform some task. So in that case, if you're using if condition means, it will increase your coding complexity. You have to write a lot of nested if conditions and implement it. So to overcome that issue, right, we use something called switch case statements. Right. So just look into this scenario. Consider I'm going to read a character, input character as a runtime input. And I'm expecting the input values like A, E, I, O, U, like vowels, right? So if the value of this input character, if it can be any of these things like A, E, I, O, U, means I can able to print the message. The entered character is a vowel. Apart from these 5 characters, if user enters any other character, that is the exceptional cases or default value. It is not a vowel, or it can be considered consonant. So now my validation is based upon more than one value. It is not just A. It can be E, I, O, U also. So whenever your validation is based upon more than one possible values, right? In that case, instead of relying on if condition, using if condition also, we can able to perform this validation. But it involves some additional coding effort. But using switch case concepts, we can able to easily handle it. So the syntax here is we use a command case followed by the character which you are receiving from the user. If the character is present in any of these cases, that message or the command will get executed. If it is A, E, I, O, U, these commands will get executed. Asterisk denotes the default value. Apart from these 5 characters, if user gives any other character, then it will be considered as a default value and print this default message. And finally, you have to terminate this case statement by using this command, ESAC. So in Linux, there is another interesting factor. Okay, the end of the statement will be like a reverse of the command, like case ESAC. Similarly, previously also we use something called if and fi. Fi denotes end of the if statement, right? Similarly here. Hope it's clear to all.
Yeah.
So in this fundamentals of shell scripting, we'll be covering all the possible entities that is required. Okay. So with this script, if I execute, see here, this is case 1, case 2, case 3, and case 4. And this denotes the termination of each cases. Like once this case statement is completed, end that case statement with 2 semicolons. Correct. So each and every option should be terminate with 2 semicolons. It is what the coding standard or coding rule we can say. Let me save this file and run it. See, it is expecting a character. If I enter a value, it should respond. Similarly, if I enter any other value, it should get some different result. Now, the point here is, in this case, I am trying to accept the 5 possible values, right? What if I enter something like this? End user, I'm entering A here, but I entered a capital A. A is also vowel, right? Logically, I know it is a vowel, right? But your system says it is not a vowel. So what it mean? What it mean here? Linux is always a case sensitive. Okay, so we have to properly handle the value, whether it's in a small case or in a caps. So while creating a script itself, you should be smart enough to handle that as well. So just look into this scenario. The same thing I want to implement for my uppercase and lowercase as well. I'm going to accept the value if the value is A or capital A, if it is small a or capital E. So this is an operator or operator, which is used to define the conditional or comparison or logical operators we can able to use. It can be small a or capital A, small e or capital E. So using some logical operators, we can able to maintain all the possible options so that your program will not get into any logical issues. Easy? Am I making things clear to all? Yes, no?
Yes.
So you can understand, right? Like this, you can use some OR operator for a number of entities and start writing your script. So now it is working as expected. Without any logical issue, I am able to handle it. Easy. So these are all, individuals' responsibility. So for any problem or any problem statement, there'll be various solutions, right? And it's all depends upon the individual, how they approach the problem, how they look into the situation, right? So in future also, there'll be a lot of scenarios you'll be getting to automate our DevOps process. So just understand the scenario, and always you should think on the end user's perspective. Tomorrow, if you are using that product, what are all things you expect from that product? Correct. What are things you will try from the product? On that perspective, if you think, right, you can able to get a lot of logic out of it. It's very easy and it's very interesting. Okay, working as a coding and development, it's really interesting task. Every day we can able to play with that. So like this, there are few more examples I have just to make you comfortable with the basic scripting skills. So if you're comfortable with this, then we can able to take it further with our next level. Okay. So so far we were handling something related to your numbers, right? Similarly, if you want, you can able to handle the numeric, string of characters also. So just look into the scenario here. We have a script with two variables, str1 and str2. You can able to use the same if condition to compare the value of the variable 1 and 2. If it is matching, just print it as matching, otherwise print it is not matching. So using the comparison operator, we can able to handle it. Got it? This is one case. And apart from that, I talked about something on your looping construct, like how to create a loop or execute some sort of iterations, right? So just look into this scenario. So in shell scripting, right? Not only shell scripting, even tomorrow while using Python also we have this logic. So this is something used to maintain some possible values. I want to print some possible values based on some incrementation. Let's say I have a list of students. There are nearly 100 students in my list. Only students' name I have. If I want to print all the 100 names, means I can simply use this condition for I in the list. Do echo loop the count. So initial value of count is 0, right? Index value. So count equal to count plus 1. We are just incrementing it. So from this group of elements, I am trying to print the very first value, and then I'm incrementing the value of the count by 1, and again the process goes. So here there is nothing like for I equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. That C programming based option is not available, because here we are manually incrementing the value. This is a very traditional and quickest way to handle the list of elements. But over the period of time, right, this we were using in our traditional shell scripting while working on Unix and all, we were using this approach. But later point of time, right, when C programming came into picture, there only we have introduced to something called this structure, for loop structure, something like this. So where we have initial value and we can able to maintain the conditions there itself. So here for I equal to 0, I is less than n. N is the n means it can have the maximum value like 5 here, and increment value of I by 1. So till this condition satisfies, the statement will get executed. Like I was demonstrating with a small scenario, right? Like student name, the same scenario. So most of our scripting, like your Python or your shell scripting, or tomorrow while working on Groovy scripts also, you'll be using this logic. Because if you're using this logic, your initial value, your condition, and the incrementation can happen on the same statement. Otherwise, you have to explicitly manage it. If you miss something here, it will mess up your entire looping or iteration. So if you look into this example, see here. So I have created that file and I'm able to execute it. So loop count is 0 till 4 it is printing, because initial value of I is 0 and the count value also it is 0. If the initial value of count value is 1, then it will start printing from 1, right? So these are the count values which we have here. You see? So here your intention is to understand the structure or the syntax of your for loop. You see? Like this, we have something called handling the arguments. Handling argument is another important thing in your shell scripting, because every time, I cannot rely on my variable that is hard coded with some values. Sometimes one program can call another program. Are you aware of it? A subprograms. One script can invoke another script. Or within a script, you can have a number of functions. One functions can invoke another functions. So while dealing with all these things, right, you have to pass some runtime inputs as an argument. So how we can able to deal with that means, just look into this scenario here. I'll just take this example first. So here I'm going to print the total number of arguments by using hash symbol. Hash denotes the total number of arguments that you're going to assign to the program. And 0 denotes the program name, 1 denotes the very first argument, 2 denotes the second argument, and 3 third argument. Like that, it just keep on incrementing. Dollar symbol is the address variable. Value of that variable you can have printed here. Let me save this file. So this is my script, which we just prepared. And now I'm going to execute this. ARG. If I run this, see what happened? The total number of arguments is 0 because we are not passing any argument to the script. And it is printing the program name. Program name is arg1.sh. So how it is capturing program name is if you use $0, it is used to print the program name. And if you have any arguments, the argument can be printed like this. So if I run it again with some arguments, so I'm trying to execute my script with 3 or 4 different arguments. So the argument, it can be anything as per your choice. Okay, it can be the variable or a value or anything as per your need. Okay, you can able to pass on this. Like I can simply say 20, 30, 40, 60 or something, any input parameters. But ensure that you give one character space between the arguments. So if I execute this, you can see this script, it is getting executed with 4 arguments. So total number of arguments which we are passing here is 4. How that number 4 is captured means by using $hash. It's a very important interview question also. How we are going to handle the runtime arguments. I'm not talking about the input values. Arguments can be handled using the hash. Similarly, the program name is handled with the help of $0. And first argument can be handled within your program by using $1. Like that, we can able to use $2, 3 for the number of arguments. Any question? Any question here? All good? Okay, so if you are clear with all these things, then I'll stop this for now. In tomorrow's session, we'll see how to handle these arguments within your script. Because we were explicitly using a read command to read the input, right? But instead of that, I can able to directly handle it with my script here if I'm passing through some arguments. Got it? So we'll see that in next session. And also, I'll show you some examples of how to handle the array variables. Already we have used some for loop, right? That itself is a process of handling array variables only. And then we'll be discussing about some functions, how to use the functions in your script. And then we'll be moving into the next module, that is Python. All right. So you guys have any question, please let me. I'll be sharing all these scripts, examples, everything as a separate documentation for you. Is that fine?
Yeah.
And in addition to that, if you are really interested to learn about Linux scripting more, I can give you some reference materials also to learn about Linux scripting, because here, as per the course curriculum, we are covering the fundamentals of the scripting, right? So if you're interested to learn more, I can give you some references on that. Don't worry.
Sure.
So what all the scripts I have executed so far, I'll be documenting it, and it will be available in your class training document repository.
Is this bin bash is mandatory to give in any VA, mandatory to do to any VA editor?
As per the coding standard, it is mandatory.
Okay.
Why? Because I talked about the reusability, correct?
Yeah.
The script which you create today in my Ubuntu machine, if I want, I can able to execute in my CentOS also.
Okay.
Correct? In any distribution, I can able to execute. So whatever the distribution I'm going to run, that interpreter should be using that bash to compile
Okay,
your
understand.
script. So that is what the necessity here. But if you are working only on your Ubuntu machine, means within a single machine, that is not mandatory. You can simply start running your code. That's what initially I started
So
with the code, right?
it's user delete for across the platforms, right?
Yes. Fine. So any other question from anyone, please let me know. All good?
Hi, Loksai.
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
Yep.
I'm trying to connect with MOBA Extreme, but it is saying since yesterday I'm trying, so couldn't able to connect with MOBA Extreme. So I'm just doing this commands in the.
What is that error message you're getting?
Yeah. How can we share our screen here?
No, you can post the error print.
In the chat?
Use the chat window. You can print that error message here.
Okay. Yeah, let me do it.
I was doing company secretary course due to, okay, so CS means what it means? Iti, right? CS means? Okay. What is your, if you don't mind, what is the graduation like? You completed your, okay.
I'm not able to post this in the chat.
At least read it out more. What is the error message you're getting when you try to connect?
Yes. Yeah, let me. No supported authentication methods available. Server refused our key. So I don't know.
So is it something like this? this message? You
One
can see on my screen, right? Can you see my screen?
yes, right. Yeah, like this.
So I showed you, right? If you want to establish a connection to your remote server through SSH, you should enter your active public IP address of the machine, and the username should be Ubuntu in small case. Are you entering it properly?
Yeah. So even the username is it should be like only Ubuntu, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
just
And
Ubuntu.
okay, then advanced settings we need to.
In advanced settings, select that private key and then choose the PIM file which is associated to that instance. If you already have a PIM file, just use the file that is associated to that one. If these three parameters are valid, it will allow you to log in.
I have created 2 to 3 instance.
Okay, then
key
do one thing.
also.
Just to which instance you want to connect now. Go to AWS console, and against that instance ID, right? If you can navigate to your right, you can see the key pair name.
Okay.
Can you see this from your machine, from your console?
Yeah, I can able to see.
So just see the key pair, which key pair is associated to that instant. Select the key pair from your file system.
Okay, let me try that. I'll let you know. I'll try now only.
Fine. So I'm copying all these scripts, the documents, everything to your repository. So if you find time, please practice this today. Yeah, tomorrow we'll be working on Python. We'll start with Python scripting. Or you want me to directly start with your DevOps? Anything is fine. Right? So I'm enabling the poll now. Please respond there. If you have any question, you can straight away ask. No problem. Niti, right? Niti. I'll talk about that one, not now. Okay. Just go with the flow. As of now, don't think about other pointers like whatever you have done with your previous training and all. Currently, we are working on our DevOps module. Just focus on this and just travel with this. I'll give you more guidance while we progress. Got it? What is your brother? You can put in chat window. Backend means? Have you completed your graduation or like, is there any backlogs there? You are in your final year, right? Then, okay, focus on your studies completely, first of all. You are in the final year of your graduation, just stay focused, come out with proper distinction. That should be your main agenda now. Don't think about the things which you dropped earlier, okay? Just focus on your studies. And along with it, go through this training. We'll talk about that while we progress. Don't get distracted or diverted from the flow. Your first priority should be your graduation. Focus on that with good distinction, actually, not just hope you can understand. Fine. So what next? Who's it? Some suggestions for freshers. See, freshers means completely new to this IT, or I mean, you're doing some graduation or just completed your graduation. Masti? Okay, so you're just completed graduation means I think this is a right area. Okay, you've chosen your right thing because most of the organizations they are looking for freshers, especially for DevOps. Okay, if you are a fresher with the DevOps skill set, you will be considered as a trained DevOps resource, not an experienced DevOps resource. You'll be considered as a trained DevOps resource. So definitely you'll be getting a lot of opportunities and priorities when compared to others. So just stay focused, learn the things with some real-time use cases. Anyways, I'm there, right? I'll be giving you some inputs also once we start with our formal DevOps module, because we are just in the very basic level. Once we start with the core DevOps modules, you'll get to know what exactly needed as a fresher, and you can able to fine tune yourself there. That's enough. All right. Sure. Thank you. Thank you all. If you don't have any other question, then we'll close this call. Tomorrow we'll continue with our few more Linux functions, and then we'll start with the Python scripting language. All right. Thank you.